Hello everybody, this is Allison Haikila. Thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel today. We are going to tackle a sublimation project today. I have been working with Artesprix for the past few months. I just learned about them earlier this year in 2021, and it is so much fun. I was a little unsure when I first heard about it how I was going to be able to combine my paper crafting skills with this sublimation technique. And if you don't know what that is, essentially it's when you take a solid and you skip the liquid phase and you go right to a gas. So it's turning a solid into a gas. What happens is the markers and the ink that you're using, which is from Artesprix, is considered a solid when you put it on some copy paper, which we'll get into. And by using heat and pressure, you can use either a heat press or a home iron, it transforms that solid into a gas, skipping the liquid phase, and permanently attaches your designs onto a blank or substrate, which in this case we'll be doing bookmarks. So there's a little cool science behind this, and that makes me really excited. But I wanted to show you sort of the technique that we're going to be doing today. This is a sample I had made early this year when I first started playing with Artesprix sublimation ink. This is a luggage tag, and this is essentially the technique that we're going to be doing today on a bookmark. But I've had a number of people asking me about sublimation in my blog posts and on Facebook and other social media, not quite getting what sublimation is, so I thought that this was a perfect time to explain it to you. So this is the stencil we're going to use. This is from Stencil Girl, and this bookmark is going to be for one of my son's teachers. And she's an avid reader, so we thought that this would be a great gift for her. So the first thing that we need to do as I clear off my space is we are going to take a piece of copy paper. This is just plain old ordinary copy paper. You can use higher quality paper if you want to, but the point of using the copy paper is so that if you make a mistake, you don't feel so bad about throwing it away. And it's quite possible to make mistakes. I've made many, but I don't feel so bad about getting rid of the copy paper as I would if it was one of my more expensive pieces of cardstock. So if you're doing certain techniques like watercoloring and what have you, you can go up to a better quality copy paper, but there have been some projects that I've done that were completely watercolored and I still used copy paper and it worked out fine. So what I just did was I traced the bookmark shape with a pencil. The pencil lead will not transfer when you're using either your home iron or your heat press. So no worries, you can, draw all over this thing and it's not going to transfer. So now what we need to do is I have all of my Artesprix markers here. I'm going to pick out the colors of the rainbow, and we are going to use those to create our piece. So I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And we might just throw in a pink if we still have room for it at the end. So we're going to start with that. And this is one of the easiest ways to use these markers. We're just going to color right across like that. And you want to make sure that you go past your pencil line, because if for some reason when you realign your blank onto your traced area, if it's off by a little bit, you won't have like a white edging. So it's always best to go past your pencil line a bit. That's our orange. We're going to go in with the yellow now. And this is just scribbling back and forth. You can do very intense techniques with this, but I thought that I would just start off by showing you something really simple that really your children can do quite simply. People with dexterity issues can do quite simply. Things like that. So now we're going in with the blue. And I want to mention that these colors look super dull right now. Once you use your heat press or home iron, they are going to brighten up dramatically. They're going to look much better after they've been pressed. So trust me when I tell you, it's going to look amazing later. And now we have our pink. And I will have all of the supplies that I'm using listed in the description. Okay, so we've got the beginnings of our bookmark. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our stencil, and I think that it's just a little shy of the right size. So I'm going to just do it at an angle because it doesn't really need to be straight up and down. I'm going to just adhere some washi tape to this, just to get that in place. And then I have my Artesprix sublimation ink. And I have a sponge dauber that is dedicated to the sublimation ink specifically. I don't ever wash this. There's no need to because it's specifically made, or I should say, I have assigned it the job of being only for sublimation ink. Okay, so we have applied our ink. I'm going to show you up close what this is going to look like. And you can see that our pencil line is still showing, so we'll be able to line up our bookmark nice and easily when we're ready for that. But that's the process. Now what we need to do is, first of all, you want to make sure that you wipe this down with some water, or you can throw it into like a basin or something. It will stain your stamps and stencils, but it doesn't cause any harm to them. It's just like when you're using, you know, regular ink, how sometimes it stains. Everything will still work just as it had before. It just might have a little bit of discoloration, and you can see that this one already is discolored, so there's no problem there. Now what we're going to do is take our sublimation blank, which in this case is the bookmark, and we're going to lay it face down on top. This bookmark is one-sided. You can see that it's white on this side and there's a silvery metal on the back. Some things have two sides that you can work with. This luggage tag, for example, it was white on both sides. You can use both sides to decorate, but the bookmark, you only do one side. So now what we need to do is we are going to line up our bookmark with the pencil design that we had, like so. And then we're going to break out our heat tape. This is also from Artesprix. You want to make sure that you're only using heat tape from Artesprix when you're doing this process, because it will keep your project and you nice and safe. It will withstand the heat that you're using with your iron or your heat press, and it won't transfer the ink to anything else. Just going to put a couple of pieces on here. You don't need a lot if you're using a heat press. However, if you're using a home iron, you really want to make sure that you cover all the way around whatever your substrate is, your blank, because you could inadvertently move something as you're moving your iron when you're pressing it by hand. Okay, so that is the blank starting to get set up. And now the next thing that we need is our paper. Artesprix has a protective paper that they sell. It's a siliconized paper, and this is really the best thing that you can use when you're doing your transferring. There are some other options out there, but they're not as good as this one. So I will allow you to learn that on the Artesprix channel or within Artesprix's blogs and things like that. But I will tell you that I highly recommend using their siliconized paper because it will keep everything nice and safe. You don't have to worry about things catching on fire. The transfer will happen beautifully, and that's about it. So with this, you need to have a sublimation sandwich. So you need to have the siliconized paper on the top and the bottom of your project. Now, I folded it in half here. You don't have to do it that way. We have a lot of excess. We can really trim this off, but I can always do that later on once the process is done. Now off camera, I have my heat press set to 400 degrees and a timer set to 45 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this over. The heat from the heat press is up on top and we have the base underneath. So you want to make sure that your copy paper that has your design is on top, because that is going to be closest to the heating element, and then that will help change your solid, which is the marker color, to a gas and transfer onto your blank. So I'm going to do that right now. Here is a different perspective of my craft room. This is my heat press and my sublimation sandwich is in there. It's a layer of protective paper, then the copy paper with the design side down, my blank taped below that, and then another layer of the siliconized paper. So now what we're going to do is we're going to close the lid, and you can see that the timer is starting to count down and the sublimation process is happening. The heat pressing is done and I very carefully moved my sublimation sandwich over to my desk, and now we're going to do what's called a peek test. I'm just opening this up. Again, you can have this cut in half if you want to. And we are going to take a little peek at what's been done so that in case it doesn't look great or we need to press again, we can do that without shifting our copy paper and blank. Here is the peek test. Things are looking like they've transferred really well. Let's take a peek at the top. Look at those vibrant colors. See what I was talking about? You want to be very careful and let this sit for a minute because it is metal, this bookmark, and it is hot. But I did let it sit. So I'm going to carefully pull off the heat tape and take a look at this bookmark. Look at the difference in colors. Isn't that crazy? You see how much more vibrant they are now that we've done the sublimation? And this is permanent. This is not going to come off. It is there forever. So there you go. That is a quick tutorial on sublimation. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more of these videos from me. I would be happy to do them for you. The process is so much fun and you can really get some amazing results. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Be sure to visit my blog. I'll have some photos over there. And if you have questions, leave them below. Thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you all very soon. Stay safe, be well, peace out.